Angel One has evolved into a constitutional oligarchy. It is governed by a parliamentary body consisting of 6 elected mistresses and headed by a female they refer to as the Elected One.
It sounds like my own planet.
Klingons appreciate strong women.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Fully Functional, a TNG podcast. I'm Maggie, joined by Jeff and Dory. On today's episode, we're going to be discussing episode 14 of the first season of Star Trek The Next Generation, called Angel One. Original air date, January 23rd, 1988. So, we'll start, as always, with a recap from Dory.
Okay, so there's like a freight ship called the Odin that there was some emergency and people evacuated, and the team is looking for them because there may be survivors on Angel One. So they get there. Turns out the Angel One their leader it's like a matrilineal. Is that the right term for matriarchal? Ah, that sounds so bad. Ladies run the show. So they want to go check to see if there are survivors on the planet. Riker leads the team down, and they're like, hey, you got any survivors? And we meet Beata, Mistress Beata. I think that's how you pronounce her name. She's the Elected One and the leader. They have some cool outfits. The ladies who are in charge, fun looks. The men,
yeah, I really like the women's
clothes.
Yeah,
they're looking cool. The men, however, there are some choices.
Yep.
There are some bold looks, and just like you know what the weirdest part of the men's looks to me?
What's that?
Is that yes, it's a deep V, but one nip it has to show, just one.
Yeah, it's an asymmetrical deep V.
Yeah, that's such a weird choice to be one nip out.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be
and all chest,
reminiscent of a toga or something, I guess.
Sort of, yeah.
Okay, I didn't get that, but it just I can sort of see that now. So it's a look. It's a bold choice.
Yeah.
So they Beata's not super interested in helping, but for some reason Riker really gets to her, strikes a chord with her, if you will, and she's like, hey, maybe there's people here, maybe. And then she's like, hey, yeah, there's people, but they're assholes, and they're dangerous, so they're gone, they're hiding somewhere. So then she invites Riker to meet up with her, for diplomatic reasons, if you will. Yeah. And then the rest of the gang is okay, I guess we're gonna go find the survivors. Meanwhile, on the ship, there's a virus. You know what? There's too many fucking viruses this season.
Yeah.
Everybody, they keep getting sick.
This one is super random, too. It just is oh, here's a virus because you need to be...
Yeah, they never explain where it comes from.
No, it just shows up.
At first, when he was oh, Wesley is sick, and his friend, and then Picard started showing symptoms, I was could it be from that snow? Because then Worf started getting sick, but then a bunch of other people did, and then they're oh, it's the smell. And I was
holodeck virus.
God, that's too much. But yeah, they're doing too many viruses this season. We're 14 episodes in, and there's so many sicknesses.
It's too real. It's just
it's right now. Oof. It's it's too close to home.
Yeah.
And also, it was just the symptoms are similar to Corona, of the cold symptoms, and it just was a lot to watch.
And the Worf sneeze, and
we've had to convert it's we're running out of ICU beds, and we have to convert these facilities into isolation wards, and it's hitting way too close to home.
Yeah, it was a little on the nose. I mean, not their fault. They didn't know this was going to happen 30 years later, but here we are. I also was Geordi got to be in charge for a bit, so good for Geordi.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got a couple one-liners again.
Yeah. Good for him. Okay, so everybody's getting sick. The captain gets sick. Dr. Crusher spends the whole episode being like, I need to find a cure. Somehow she doesn't get sick.
Yeah, I noticed
but
that.
Still smells but still smells the thing that everybody else smells. I'm confident that I would have been immune to this because I actually don't have a sense of smell.
Oh.
Like I have 95% of things I can't smell. So like I would have been okay because people, whenever somebody's like, smell this, I'm like, no. Hard pass.
Fair.
Anyways, okay. So that's basically what's going on the ship. Everybody's sick. Back on the ground, so Riker meets up with Beata, but before he does, he shows up with the outfit. This outfit, my friends, is wild.
That's a word for it.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't know if it's the best look for Riker.
Not entirely. It's not his color.
It's not his color, despite them saying it's your color. It's
Yeah.
really not.
Yeah.
Like it complements your eyes. Yeah, but like, does it? But the real issue, and I don't know, this might just be my opinion. I think the reason it doesn't work as well on Riker is his chest hair. All the other guys are like smooth as a baby on their chest, especially that Trent guy.
Yeah.
Trent shows up so much, and I was like, is he going to be a bad guy? No, he's just... No, Trent shows up a bunch of times. But yeah, I don't know I think it might be like his chest hair, which like doesn't work with this. It's just too many textures.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, that's not a complaint. I'm a fan of chest hair. Actually, this was like chest hair episode because we got Riker with the deepest feet possible. And then there was Picard in the bed.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And he has his shirt off.
Yeah, this was chest hair extravaganza, if you will. Oh, yeah. So everybody makes fun of him, but he's like, I'm being respectful. It's like, I wear fur and feathers at the other places, but I'm going to do this. And it's like, you know what? You do you. I like that he's trying to be respectful of all cultures. So he goes and like has meets with Beata. They are trying to fuck but get interrupted by Trent. Like, Trent, what's your damage, buddy? Yeah, it's so they find the survivors. So that's Troy, Yar, and Data. And they're like, no, we're cool. We want to stay here. We have families, so we're not leaving. And of course, there's nothing that the gang can do about it. So they just go back and they're like, yeah, they're not coming. And so then Beata's like, okay, so then like execution time, everybody. And they were like, or we could take everybody. And for some reason, still Ramsey, who's like the leader of the survivors, is like, no, I don't want to die, but I also don't want to leave. And they were like, you're right now, buddy, your options are stay and die or leave and live.
Bud,
and
pick
he's
one.
like, I'm still undecided. I'm like, what are you? Like, what it's like the undecided voters in the 2020 election. It's like there's obviously one choice that's better than the other.
Yeah.
Like, just pick it. What is so hard about it? One is death, the other is life. Like, still like the 2020 election. Yeah, so eventually Riker gives like a whole speech about evolution and how, like, you know, maybe one day men will evolve to be at your level or something. And I'm like, if only. No, I'm kidding. And like this like speech really like strikes a chord with Beata. So she's like, let's go have a quick 2-second meeting. And
Totally
then
quick.
Riker, yeah, really quick. Enough time though, so Riker can be like, "Hey, Data, get ready to like beam up all these people." And though we could do it right now and like be pretty sure like everybody will be safe, let's just wait to see if she was convinced by my words. So let's just like take a chance and wait, though, okay? And Data's like, "Yeah, sounds good." So yeah, so it turns out she's like, "Okay, fine. We don't want them to be martyrs. We don't want like a revolution and." Whatever, so fine, they can like stay, but they're exiled. And everybody's like, yay, we did it. And Riker's like, I did it. He's basically, yeah, he gets some moments. Oh yeah, so then everybody gets beamed back up of the gang, and Picard is like back to his position in his chair, but his voice sounds like basically mine every time I get sick.
He's okay.
I literally, yeah, you sound like we've been smoking for 35 years. Yeah, so he very quietly says engage.
Neutral zone, Mr. Data.
And then, as usual, except for last episode, it ends everybody's on the bridge, and we're back to where we started. The end.
So, if you just removed the entire B plot about the virus, the episode would be exactly the same, if not better paced.
Oh yeah, I think the only time they really come into play is when they're like, okay, we want to come up, and Dr. Crusher's like, no, don't come up.
Yeah, they could have just stuck with the neutral zone thing instead and said, nope, this is more important, we got to do that. Or we're not here right now.
But
instead they ran with the B plot, and they kept going back to it so often. I don't know if it was filler or they just didn't know, didn't really know how to carry that part of the story, because every time that we went back to the ship, I didn't give a shit.
Yeah. I'm kind like they've just had so many viruses and stuff on the show so far. Like,
that's fair. Yeah.
I don't know. Everybody's going to be fine. We know everybody's going to be fine.
That's not too often of a reoccurring problem, luckily.
Yeah. I like this. The narrative for this episode was pretty weak.
Yeah.
I didn't actually mind the stuff on the planet. I thought that while the story could have been maybe a little better explored, I did find it interesting. I was engaged by that part of it.
I mean, I didn't not enjoy it. It just didn't.
It didn't grab me at all.
Yeah.
It was just like, this is fine.
Yeah, it's watchable, but certain things about it annoy me.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, so Dory, a bunch of this will be directed at you because you have had all of the thoughts on the episode so far for the most part.
Yeah.
The approach to this episode from the original writer's perspective was he wanted to write a story about apartheid.
Oh.
There's no connection to it left in the end of the story.
Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah.
But that's what he wanted to write. He wanted something political. He wanted something controversial. He wanted to make a stand, apartheid is bad, when all of these, liberal democracies across the world were saying, well, it's bad, but we have good relations with them. And, and there were all of those things where people were unwilling to call it out.
Yeah, it came off more as a commentary on,
gender.
Yeah, gender discrimination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, they don't take a hard stance against,
It doesn't feel like they're against the women being in power. They're just maybe treat the men a little nicer. Like they're not the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely go out of their way to never take a stand one way or the other. So, in the original story, Beata had a different name. She had imprisoned Riker after he directly addressed her and then touched her hand. Tasha Yar stunned Riker to prevent him from being killed and then took over command of the away team.
Oh my god.
Wow.
So, I've got a bit more for you. So this is something that the writer said about the rewrites about it. He has been very loud about it because he was extremely dissatisfied with what happened with his story. So I'm gonna read verbatim what I read about it. I'm reading from a book called The 50-Year Mission: The Next 25 Years, which is a big history of the entire Star Trek franchise. So. An early meeting about this episode was attended by Patrick Berry, who wrote it, Gene Roddenberry, and Herbert J. Wright, who is one of the main story consultants. Wright was wary that the concept of a matriarchal society had been too overdone, and since it was the 1980s, that makes sense. So that now we're quoting Patrick Berry here. So one of the major issues that we didn't want to do was an Amazon woman kind of thing, where the women are 6 feet tall with steel D cups, he recalled. I said, the hit I want to take on this is apartheid, so that the men are treated as though they are the black people of South Africa. Make it political. Sexual overtones, yes, but very political. So that didn't last very long. Everything that Gene got involved with had to have sex in it. It's so perverse that it's hard to believe. The places it was dragged into were absurd. We were talking about how women would react, and Jean was voicing all the right words again and again, saying, "Oh yes, we've got to make sure that women are represented fairly, because, after all, women are probably the superior sex anyway. And it's real important that we don't get letters from feminists, because we want to be fair, and we don't want to infer that women have to rule by force if they do rule. Because men don't have to rule by force. You know, very sensible stuff. Keeping in mind, this is 1980s mentality, so that is fairly progressive for the 1980s. So yeah, very sensible stuff. All of a sudden, something kicks in, and he changes. However, he says, we don't want to infer that it would be a better society if women ruled. His voice becoming increasingly louder. Roddenberry continued that this was because women were untrustworthy, vicious creatures, unquote, which he angrily blurted out in a torrent of hateful verbiage. Wright concluded, then he looks out the window, looks at the outline again, and says, okay, on to page 8, as if nothing ever happened. So that's the behind-the-scenes story about this episode.
I hate it.
Clearly, they were not happy at all with what became of it.
Yeah.
I do think it's very funny that they were like, oh no, we don't want to overdo like a society run by women. It's like, no, because we have already that, like, so I'm not wording this correctly, but they're like, oh, it's overdone. You don't think that men ruling is overdone?
Yeah.
That's all we've had. I think we're done with that.
I don't disagree with their point at the time, because sci-fi was pretty scarce in the 1980s, just in general. It was kind of a dying genre for a little while. And several other popular sci-fi films especially had covered this sort of thing within the last 10 years, and they didn't want to just do a retread, they wanted something original. So that's where he was going with it. Like, he wasn't saying don't do a matriarchal society. He was saying, like, we need an original approach.
Okay.
Which isn't a bad idea, because, you know, doing the Amazon thing it had been done like a dozen times, and there was nothing new to say about that.
Yeah, no, I can get that. It's just interesting that that's like the only kind of way that men see that women could be in power is if they're fucking Amazons.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is telling. Which is why I'm glad they went with this direction with it, even though I would not consider this a particularly successful commentary on that at all.
Yeah.
I'd love one day to see like some like mousy brown-haired girl who's 5'1". Let's see her run this kind of society. Where's that?
Yeah, that would be pretty awesome.
Like Edna Mode from The Incredibles. Let's get that lady. Someone like Edna.
Because they didn't go as far as like them being Amazons and stuff, but they still say that they're bigger and stronger than the men of their species. Yeah,
that's true. And they did deliberately cast it so that women were like physically more dominant.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that kind of ties in, I would think, to the direction they went with in the episode, that the men are all like very feminine and whatnot, and that femininity is kind of something that
it's weakness.
Yeah, so it is still a sexist view of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The men have to be like submissive, or like that's not.
Yeah.
Yes. But it's also important to note that gender discussion was not particularly evolved in the mainstream at this period in time.
No, definitely. Mm-hmm. As a commentary on apartheid, it doesn't. It doesn't have anything to do with
no,
it.
not at all. There's nothing left of that commentary. It's gone.
But as an allegory of gender inequality, the thing I wanted to get into was that I personally really don't like allegories where they just flip the roles, like
nope, me either.
The oppressor is in the oppressed position, because most of the time it's not like, oh, I guess this is what women feel like. It's more like, so that in this example, like in terms of gender relations, it's like, oh, this is so men can fantasize that they're oppressed.
It's literally just men, like a man's. It's basically just like a man's world, but instead of a man, it's physically a woman.
Yeah.
There's really no change. It's just a different physical person.
Yeah, they're kind of incapable of picturing a world in which it is feminine traits that are dominant.
Yeah,
because God forbid.
Yeah, it seems like
God.
to me, it just seems like less of, like, oh, we'll show men what it's like, and more of, like, oh, man, imagine if women were in charge.
Yeah.
It's like when straight people, like, make those movies or short films or whatever about, like, about straight relationships being outlawed instead of gay ones. And it's like,
Oh, yeah, and it's like, that doesn't say anything.
yeah.
You just want to be the oppressed.
Yeah. You don't know what it's like. Like, that's not... I highly doubt that's really opening up anyone's mind.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I find anything like that where it's like, oh, but, like, white people are the slaves. It's just... Yeah, like I said, anything where the allegory is just a straight-up role reversal.
Yeah, you need a new way to tell that kind of story, and you need to take your allegory and actually construct something that is equal in terms of like how you're representing it, but not just flipping a role, because you're not saying anything by doing that.
Yeah, like your message isn't going to come across to the people you're trying to talk to.
Exactly.
How many women were in the writers' room?
Ha!
I mean, I know there was the one person, because here's the thing: if you have a woman in the writers' room, be like, what would it be? Just fucking ask her. Or do any of these people know women? Just ask, what would you do? Because the funny thing is, like, there's a lot of people who think they know the answer, but this kind of reminds me, there was like some kind of questionnaire, or not questionnaire, some survey that went around, and it was like, if men disappeared for 24 hours, like, what would you do? And a huge portion of women, their answer was to go for a walk at night.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was literally to be outside and do something at night. And that's not something that most men would even consider. So even just if these are writers, like, be fucking creative. You're a writer on a TV show. Ask a woman what they would do, and you'll get an actual perspective, rather than just being like, I'm a man, what would a woman want? Men don't understand. They're not going through a woman's experience, and it just, like, it's not what, you never know. If you don't experience it yourself, it's hard to identify, right? As if that makes sense in this context.
Yeah.
So if they truly took 1 second, which also makes me really think that they don't care.
Oh, they definitely don't.
Didn't they? Because also they used something like this to be like, oh, apartheid? No, like, what? In what? I'm sorry, I'm not frustrated. I'm not articulating very well, but it's a stupid comparison.
Yeah, I was gonna say that another indication that they don't get it is the fact that they would use men versus women as an allegory for apartheid.
Yeah.
Also, they automatically just assume that women would have an outfit like this for guys. They would have that men would be wearing these, like, shitty V-neck, one nipple outfits. You think a woman would be like, yeah, I like that look? No, I'm sorry, but any, like, straight identifying woman is not looking at those outfits being like, oh yeah, that's what turns my gears.
Especially with, like, the awkward cod pieces.
Yeah, truly. You know what these outfits reminded me of? Like, men's, like, ballet outfits.
Yeah.
Just with, like, the tights and the sort of bit more flowy shirt.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is not for ballet. That's different. But for, like, an everyday thing, and it's such, like, a man's idea too, to be like, ooh, let's get this sexy look. It's not a cute look.
Right.
Because men would, if men had the power to, they would have their women in outfits like that.
Yeah.
Women might not want that. I mean, I don't think I would. I want to see everybody in nice suits.
Yeah.
Just like a nice tailored suit.
Yeah.
So, Dory, in answer to your question to how many women were in the writer's room, at this point in time in the series, they didn't have much of a writer's room. It was kind of constantly changing. Like, someone would come on for a week and then get fired, that sort of thing. A woman wrote Code of Honor, which, if you remember, is the racist episode.
Okay, because I know, wasn't there also a woman, she's got initials.
DC Fontana is the only, I think, major reoccurring woman doing writing in this season, and she's gone after this season. She didn't want to be involved anymore.
Fair. Okay.
So you see her name several times. She's going to come up in one or two more episodes coming up, actually. She was responsible for Lonely Among Us. But other than that, it's all one-off, and in a lot of cases, it'll be like just the story is written by a woman or co-written by a woman, or like just the teleplay is co-written by a woman. So yeah, you get a lot of male-dominated perspectives throughout this.
Which is why I assume that like Yar doesn't tend to get a lot to do, and Troy doesn't get a lot to do.
That's a very good point.
Yeah. It's like you can definitely tell that this show is through a male filter.
Yeah, you do get some really great episodes later on in the series written by women, and they'll often have like prominent female characters in them that are incredibly believable. So, Maggie, do you remember The Drumhead?
Yeah.
That was written by Jerry Taylor,
Oh.
who is she was the showrunner on Voyager for a while. So, yeah, that's a great example of someone with a very strong female character. And Dory, you won't remember once we get to that episode because it's several seasons away.
Okay.
Many of the Troy episodes are written by women or co-written by women.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I look forward to those.
Good.
Yeah. You can still, especially with that quote, like from your behind the scenes book, like, you can just tell that Gene Roddenberry does not think highly of women.
No, he was not a Gene's perspective of people was definitely a lot less perfect than he's kind of made out to be.
Mm-hmm.
Gene was not a saint. Gene was a flawed man with drug problems who had a really great idea in Star Trek, and I'm glad that his idea came out, but it's not worth elevating the guy to like sainthood because he was no saint.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
if you have to have something that's like, they have to worry about calls or whatever from feminists, to me that's a red flag to be like, I don't want to like upset the feminists, because when you say that, it's automatically think like that it's a hassle to have to deal with whatever group is going to be in, so they're doing it to like humor that group versus actually giving a shit.
I would actually look at that more as Gene talking from a television perspective. Television producer perspective, because they got tons of fan mail for the original series and were already getting fan mail for TNG, because this would have been written like a month or two after the show premiered. And knowing your audience and knowing that your audience is diverse is something to consider.
yeah, but that's not really what he was saying.
Well, we don't have the rest of the context for like the way that conversation went, and this was also one person's perspective of what he was saying. It is heavily paraphrased.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have the exact tone and how he was saying it and stuff.
Exactly.
And I get that, like, in the 80s, being a feminist was a much more controversial thing.
Yes, it was a very different thing too.
Yeah, and that label was like considered much different than it is today.
Absolutely. It's a very different attitude surrounding it today than it was then.
Yeah.
And it's a different movement today than it was then too, by a very large margin.
Radically. I think that was still like in like second wave feminism.
That's right, it was.
So yeah, the movement is much, much different now.
Mm-hmm.
So I was dying at the beginning when Wesley and his friend come out in their silver outfits to do their skiing lesson.
Yeah.
Those were a look.
Those were definitely very science fiction outlet. You know what? That's not the last time that we see outfits like that. However, you don't see it on them. I think you see it on aliens instead.
Those were wild.
Like, they might as well just have had floating rings on their arms and have said, "We're from the future!"
Yeah.
Yeah, that silver is a bold look. This episode's full of bold looks.
Yeah, why would you wear, like shimmering silver like that all over your body when you're going out into the snow? Wouldn't that make you less visible?
I guess. I don't know.
I don't know.
Actually, no, because the reflections would, it would make you, like, shine and flicker and stuff.
But the reflection isn't normal. The reflection is just as random as it is on, like, snow crystals.
No, it would definitely be very, like, it would draw your attention. Because humans are kind of drawn to movement.
Oh, I'm not.
Do you know what I'm just thinking of? So as someone who skied for many, many years, I think that actually seeing somebody in a silver outfit would be actually kind of dangerous because, yeah, if it's hitting the sun, that's something that's going to reflect the sun. And if
Ooh,
you're going down a hill really quickly and you just see like a bunch of silver glare at your face,
Yeah.
that's kind of dangerous.
Yeah, it could be distracting to other skiers, yeah.
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 Because the important thing about reflectors is that reflectors only reflect certain bands of light, and sunlight is not one of the ones that they reflect into in like a way that's difficult to just kind of ignore.
Well, I think it was a questionable choice. I
Yeah.
mean, fashion-wise, love it. Practical-wise, it's stupid as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was followed by that great line from Worf. Quite stimulating, wouldn't you say? No!
No, that was about the smell, not his outfit.
Yes, sorry. But it was part of the same scene.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, for whatever reason, like, you know, retrofuturism in, like, the 50s and 60s was, like, rings and all that stuff, and, like,
Yep.
wavy shaped tables and shit. In 80s, retrofuturism seems to be, like, all the clothes are either metallic or jumpsuits, or both.
Yes. Ugh.
It's
Gross.
not great.
So, unrelated, you know what I just realized?
That Klingons appreciate strong women.
I mean, I love that. High fives to Klingons. I just realized this is so stupid. So, on Angel 1,
Yep.
Data is like learning about perfume and like the smell of perfume and like what the point of perfume is.
Mm-hmm.
And then up above in the Enterprise, they're having a smell-based virus.
And yet, it's not
yeah.
connected
And
at
it's
all.
not, it's not related. Like, what was the point? What was the point of doing, like, what was the point of having the perfume thing?
Yeah.
There's no, and it's two smell-based things, and they're not related in the slightest.
This
Yeah.
episode screams rewrites.
Yeah, I never even thought of that.
I literally didn't think of that until I was just looking at my notes, and I just wrote Data learning about perfume, and I was like, what?
Yeah, and when they're explaining what perfume is to Data, they jump immediately to aphrodisiac and not like covering up bad body odor.
Yeah. Or just people like to smell nice.
Yeah.
What?
That's definitely the explanation they would have gone for in later seasons of TNG, but at this point in time, they're still leaning heavily on the, ooh, we're in the future and we're superior to all of these primitive 1980s human customs.
Yeah, I guess it was like because the 80s were kind of I would consider it like the rise of like the evangelicals. And I guess it could have been pushing buttons to be so horny on TV.
That's possible.
I honestly think, though, this show is just so horny.
Yeah, it definitely is. But like you got to think of like how much more puritanical things were then.
Yes, very good point.
So they thought they were being real edgy.
They're still a little preachy about it, but yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely cringy, but I could see within the context of the era, like showing like this vision of the future where people are more sexually liberated and stuff. That does not excuse Gene Roddenberry from being an old pervert, though.
No. It also does not excuse Data from not knowing what the word aphrodisiac means.
Yeah, definitely.
Or bingo.
Yeah, isn't he programmed with a full array of pleasuring? Like, come on, you should go.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's fully functional.
Maybe he can turn on his perfume button.
Yeah. Oh God.
Data, you smell like vanilla. Yes, I'm told it is an aphrodisiac. I'm not sure what that word means, but
Also, maybe Data does this like just to experience humanity more, but why does Data ever have to ask anyone what something means? Can't he just look it up? He
can
use his own internal Google. Just fucking Google it.
He's his own Ask Jeeves.
So here's what I want to know. Do you guys remember when Troy introduced the outfit to Riker, and Riker's like, "Yeah, cool, I'll wear that," and then both Troy and Yar are quite literally like offended by him trying that on.
Yeah, and here's the thing: I kind of agree with them, because if so, Riker does it of his own accord.
Yes, absolutely.
Like to me, it seems to be implied that he requested the outfit and stuff, so that's fine. But just to imply that it's like he's in the right and he should be doing this, I just imagine if it was reversed, if it was like if you were asking a woman to wear a really objectifying outfit because that's the custom.
That's a fair point.
Oh my god.
Okay.
That made me think there's so many movies where men buy women dresses and they leave it for them to be like, wear it. And that always makes me so uncomfortable.
So I don't think it's fair to make a man do that either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a really good point. I hadn't thought about it from that perspective yet.
And the thing is like, yeah, in the episode, Riker's doing this fully of his own accord.
Yes.
I don't think it's required of him. But I definitely am on Deanna's and Tasha's side a bit, being like, you know, why are you playing into, like, the objectication?
So now that you bring that up, I think I'm on their side too. But yeah. I hadn't thought about it from that perspective, because I don't think of that that outfit as a particularly, like, demeaning, scantily clad outfit. It looks like pajamas for the most part. Yeah. It looks like a bathrobe.
Yeah, I guess it's like, but I think the intention of the episode is that outfit.
Oh, definitely. No,
like,
I know exactly where you're going. I agree.
They're implying that outfit is demeaning.
Yeah.
Which, like, is like, I don't particularly read it that. I mean, I do, because, like, the men are kind of forced to wear it on that planet.
Yes.
But yeah, it's like you shouldn't have to wear something that's demeaning just because it's cultural custom.
Yeah, I agree.
Know? And then Riker has the audacity to say, it's like, oh, you guys, like, are you guys just saying this because you're jealous that the mistress is so hot or whatever?
Yeah, that was a weird line.
Yeah, that line pissed me off. Not gonna lie.
I think in my recap, I actually said something along the lines of, like, I like that Riker is, like, being respectful, but, like, I don't think it occurred to me that it's, like, patronizing. I don't know if that's the right word to use, but
no,
it's
it would
like,
be,
the way that you're sort of explaining it now, I move my stance to your side, because, I didn't think of it that way initially. I just was like, oh, okay, so he's being respectful of a culture, I guess. But no, it's not. I mean, I guess it's because in the thing he's choosing to wear it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I took the episode at face value there, so.
Yeah, but I think that, Maggie, your point is really, really good and makes, like, 1,000,000,000% sense.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't even something I thought of.
Because it's like, yes, he's choosing to do it, but the way he talks about it, and to me, the way it came off in the episode of, like, it's like, no, you should totally do this if you're in this situation. It would be wrong to not do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, rather than it being like, what Riker is actually doing is just a strategy to, like, he's fine with the outfit. He wants to show respect so that they'll be more receptive and stuff like that. But it's like, you shouldn't have to do that. That's just the way I kind of read it. That just seemed to be what the episode was implying to me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I could be reading too much into it.
No, given the direction they went with it, I think you're spot on.
And then, like, they just inexplicably bang.
Yeah, that was
Riker and Beata.
That was a little weird. They kind of went with, like, a Kirk direction with that.
Yeah.
And I don't think I buy it or like it.
Yeah, because then the whole thing about him saying that he's, well, that he's resisting, And I don't really think they conclude why he's resisting. I was like, is he going to say he likes Troy? No, he's going to repress whatever his resistance is.
Yeah, and they're just going to bang instead.
Yeah, he goes, will you still respect me in the morning?
Yeah.
I was like, I don't think I will. No,
Yeah, I think at one point he's like basically half-heartedly, it's inappropriate, but then
Yes.
he like just is like, fuck it.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck it. You're a babe. I want to dick you.
Yeah, also the fact that like he neglects his duties to bone.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's just like,
It's
okay,
like the others.
yeah, you guys go search while I like give Beata a dicking.
A D
That's an order.
appointment.
Yeah. And then they do the cringy thing where it's like,
Oh my
man.
god.
again, I could be reading too much into this, but she's like, oh, you attract me like no man ever has. So it's kind of this implication of like, a strong woman just wants to be put in her place, or like wants a dominant man or whatever. Like, I don't know.
Also, what's like special about Riker?
Yeah, because later she says it's like, oh, I like a man who knows what he wants. Doesn't have to be like told by a woman.
Oh, yeah.
To me, that always comes off cringy. Like, whenever they do this role reversal storyline, it always seems to happen that way. That, like, what cures the Amazon is, like, a man that'll stand up to them.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They need
Yeah.
a dominant man to tame them.
Yeah,
Just like, ugh, excuse me,
Gross.
I vomit in my mouth.
yeah. They didn't go fully in that direction in this episode, but it just,
No, but they implied it.
yeah, it had, like, kind of, sprinkles of it here and there.
Yeah. On that note, I don't think that their kind of political, cultural / moral ideal at the end was particularly bad, but I wish they had actually like taken a real stand on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, committed to something.
Yeah. Like here's some moral judgment. The end.
And then Riker gets to give his whole, like, morality and, like, evolution speech.
Yeah, preachy TNG stuff.
Yeah. Which I also, Star Trek in general seems to have this idea that evolution is fated, that it has a
Yeah.
specific direction it's going in, which is not true.
They treat evolution the same way that like an evangelical treats the Bible, in that this is the word, this is the way it has to happen.
Yeah, evolution is a reactionary force. It doesn't have a predetermined destination. You can kind of make sort of general predictions based on information,
Usually environment, yeah.
Yeah, environment and trends. So like one trend that they've observed is, that ridge you have underneath your nose connecting to your lips?
Yeah.
Apparently that's like slowly disappearing.
Oh.
If you look into the past, people used to have that ridge much deeper,
Okay.
and it's slowly like flattening out.
Okay.
And like pinky toes have been getting smaller and smaller and that kind of thing. But you also can't just definitively say, this is the absolute direction of
Right.
evolution. It's like, okay, in the trends we're observing, this is, if it stays this way, this is what's going to happen. But things could change between here and then,
They are talking about cultural evolution, to be fair, and what they're basically saying is like you can't stop the force of progressiveness. But
yeah.
they did not use the right terminology for it at all.
Yeah, they just didn't do it the right way because Riker flat out says it's not a revolution, but it is.
Yeah.
It
it literally is.
a revolution is cultural evolution. Yeah, I just found it weird that they put it that way, and also given some of the other episodes of Star Trek, it just seems like the show kind of has this idea that it's going in a predestined direction.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, at least we got to hear Worf sneeze.
Yes.
That's what's important. That's what this episode was really about.
And his sneeze was so intense they cut away every time he did it.
That's 2 episodes in a row in which a sneeze was used as like a major joke point.
Oh yeah.
And yet it really solidifies that Star Trek doesn't understand humor because sneezes aren't particularly funny.
Yeah. It's so weird. I don't understand how a show can be simultaneously like have such funny dialogue but also have the worst comedy dialogue ever.
Yes. It's like when they're trying, that's when it isn't funny.
Yeah, because everything with Data is so on point and just so good. But, like,
Fully.
Yeah. Everything else they try to be funny with, it's just so cringy.
God, I can't wait until we get to the episode with Joe Piscopo.
Oh, God.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Because I think like every time Data does a joke where he's like, "That was a joke," like, no, that was a bad joke. Nobody's laughing at that.
Yeah.
It just feels like a comment.
Data, there's a reason nobody's laughing.
Yeah.
Your dialogue sucks.
Like I find like anything that the funniest thing to me that like Data does is the I love when the Sherlock Holmes thing when like he's trying to like not there's that scene when he's like Picard has told him to like stop acting like Sherlock Holmes, and just the like action of him just being like, but I want to be Sherlock Holmes. Or had to like repress wanting to be Sherlock Holmes. That was so funny.
Brent Spiner's very good at physical comedy.
Yeah.
He seems to just be like a really great actor.
He is.
He's very. I like him.
So, Dory, did you have any favorite moments throughout the episode?
Yes. I only have like a couple, not a huge amount. I really like that Geordi got to be in charge.
Yep, that was nice.
That was great. I like when the shot of Data in the bridge by himself.
Yep.
That was
Quite
kind of
lonely.
funny. I like that Wesley threw a snowball at Picard. And Picard, and he's like, it just happened. And then Picard super angrily goes, don't let this just happen again, Mr. Crusher. I just love that. I love when Picard gets angry at Wesley.
Yeah, it's very funny.
And then, yeah, my favorite line is the, will you respect me in the morning? But, yeah, there wasn't like a ton that I super loved about this episode. Oh, actually, I have one other weird note. In the Beata's room, there was like a lot of really cool lamps. So I liked the lamps.
Yeah.
Oh, good. You'll see them many more times because they're a constantly reused prop.
Oh, good. I enjoyed the lamps.
Yeah, those are the lampshades I was talking about.
Oh.
Yeah, in the
okay.
previous episode.
Oh, okay. So now I know what they look like.
And you'll see them again. And again
Cool.
and again and again.
I'm looking forward to it.
It's amazing how many alien cultures make these lamps. Also, hey, yet another alien culture that are literally just humans.
Yep.
They don't even have any makeup, they're just humans. For me, what ended up standing out, besides Worf's excellent sneeze, it wasn't actually a favorite moment, but it's something that I realized about this episode and previous ones that we had. They seem to try to close off each episode with a dumb, slightly comedic one-liner. Have you noticed that? Because this was one of them.
Oh yeah,
Where
I guess.
it was the kind of humorous moment where, you know, Picard can't say engage, and everyone kind of, like, chuckles at him, and it's like, ha ha ha, everything's lighthearted, and the next episode will reset. And I'm pretty sure that was the intention behind it. They were trying to go with, like, an original series vibe, because that is a very, like, 60s writing thing.
Yeah, and the original series ended a lot of episodes with just everybody laughing and it fading
Yes.
to black.
That's upsetting.
And considering what just happened, the fact that they just, like, narrowly averted a bunch of people being executed, I don't know that I'd be in the happiest of moods.
Yeah, it's very
And
weird.
an onboard pandemic.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, you'd think people would be a little less, cheerful about it.
Yeah.
But that's how it goes. Maggie, anything that stood out for you?
No, not really. We've already touched on what I want to touch on.
Fair.
Let's get into predictions.
So, the next episode is, has a little bit of a strange name. So, you're gonna have to abide me by this. The episode is called 11001001. And our clue for it is that the crew meets some non-binary aliens.
I hate it. No,
Good.
it's fine. No. Okay, before I give my prediction, can I just want to say, though I was like wrong for most of my prediction for this episode, I'm pretty sure I said at the end of last episode that like Angel 1 was going to be like gardeny.
Yeah.
And they said that it was full of like
That was a nice, pretty
fauna
planet.
and stuff. Yeah. And I was like, oh, weird one thing I got right for this.
And yet we didn't
this
see
episode.
any of it.
Yeah. I mean, the city was cool, but like, we didn't see any of the nature, which apparently it's known for. So just interesting. One bit I got right. Okay. So they're meeting binary aliens.
That's right.
Okay, and the title is Zeros and Ones.
Yes, 11001001.
I will not remember that. I can promise you that. Okay. So that's like got to be computer stuff. So maybe could the aliens? What if they're robot aliens and they're like, okay, so they go to a planet, as they do all the time, and they're like robots, or maybe like they need to be like programmed or something, and maybe that's like a programming for like maybe for a specific command in the episode, and that's something to like help them.
You don't seem very confident in that.
I don't.
That's okay. It's not a very comprehensive clue, and that's on purpose. We want you to make bad predictions. You're wrong, Dory.
Do I need to expand more with like what I think is going to happen, or am I okay to leave it the way that I have?
Yeah, you can leave it as brief as you want, just a blurb.
Okay, yeah. So I think the ones in the how many characters do I get? Let me count out my letters. Yeah, okay, so I think it's like a computer code, and it's a computer code that's gonna like, it's the one they need to like solve the problem or save the day. And so maybe the aliens are like, you said binary, so that also makes me think robotics and computers.
Okay.
Or, no, they've already done like virus in the computer ship, although they've done 1,000 regular viruses, so at this point.
That's true.
No, they're aliens. So, okay. I truly can't think of something for like an overarching plot. Maybe there's a virus in their computers.
Whoa.
And then maybe there's a virus in the computer aliens.
All right.
Antivirus software. What's it, McAfee or something?
Oh, God. Call up Mr. John McAfee. Yeah, great.
Wasn't he just arrested or something?
Probably.
Oh, McAfee? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's kind of a moron.
So
allegedly.
just for funsies, I tried to translate the episode title, and I've checked multiple sources and they all seem to come out as a capital accented E.
Oh. I mean, it doesn't really have a translation. It's just a pattern.
Yeah, I know, but I thought like maybe they use like real binary to spell something out.
Oh, no, but I can't tell you exactly what it is because that will give away the episode.
Oh, okay. Well, we shall see if Dory is correct on the next episode of Fully Functional, a TNG podcast.
Goodbye.